punctual. Do we need to go into executive session?
There's a couple of possibilities. One, at least we should, to discuss the town report. We always discuss that in executive session to retain secrecy and mystery about who's going to be honored in this year's edition. The other possibility is if we want to talk about the performance of any of the folks in the lister's office, we might want to take that part of the discussion in executive session.
Okay, I guess I need a motion.
So moved.
Motion's been made.
Second.
Seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Do we need to amend the agenda this evening?
You're gonna flip
The only thing
new
we're
and
gonna do is
old,
we're gonna
right?
flip, yeah, we're gonna flip the old with the new. And that's not gonna really change the agenda.
No,
so
because it's still
It's still the same.
still
So,
printed.
is there anything else that needs to be amended or added? Hearing none, we'll adopt the agenda as originally stated. We have a motion.
So moved.
We have a motion. A second.
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Select Board minutes of December 4th. Any omissions, corrections, deletions? Hearing none. Sign those. Any questions on the orders tonight? There's two of them.
I got a couple here. New England Municipal Resource, 1,500, I don't know
That's NIMRIC. That is,
what's it for. Probably I should know,
it's
but
the accounting software that kind of supports the clerk and treasurer's office and the lister's office.
like a training.
No,
No.
it's more like a consulting fee to be available to oversee
Oh.
the proper operations of our accounting software package for the computer, operation of the finance office mostly, but also listers.
And then another thing, there's a kind of a double deal here with
Yes,
Smith here on purchase,
Yeah.
land purchase, there's the $4,000.
that's the water department's
Watershed.
purchase of a couple of 2.77 acres around the extra reservoirs the town has
Yeah.
beyond the main reservoir.
Oh, okay.
And they had been on Ron Smith's land. He's thinking about selling a portion or most of that parcel of land and wanted to give us the opportunity to buy a little elbow room so we could keep those reservoirs clear of hazards like trees all around there, etc. So we thought for a combined total of $41.55, I think, that it was a good idea to control that land a little better.
It makes sense, for sure.
Any other questions on the orders? You all set, Joe?
On the annual audit, there's, it totals up to quite a price.
I
And
know, I saw that.
I know you do a good job and all, but I was wondering whether, is there a more economical way to do that? I mean, do other towns pay that much?
It certainly depends on the size and complexity of the town. We have worked in my time with Sullivan and Powers, and they did give us a quote of, I think, around $26,000, and this represents the fact that they've done the lion's share of the work.
Yeah.
In fact, I was going to mention tonight that we do have their draft audit report, which will then involve some town interaction and then finalizing it. But I think Hank and Tom can speak to the fact that we bid this before and went with another firm and did not have a good experience.
Complete disaster.
They've done a good job. I
Really
mean,
good job.
Disastrous, so
the
we,
quality of
They're
what
worth,
they've done is,
they're worth the money we paid.
you know, I'm
and it
happy
wasn't that
with
much less, if I remember right.
We've used them
When we did
over
that,
the
it
years.
was Not worth it. These guys do a fantastic job.
it. I'm happy to be.
It's never any fun to pay that money, but I always look at it as a good, reliable bill of health
well,
when we
it's-
hear from people whose opinion we respect that the books are in order.
It's an investment in getting things done right.
Yeah, I think
Good
so.
investment. And I know we've made many changes as to how we operate sometimes too.
Oh, yeah, they
with their
always have a
recommendations.
list of suggestions, some of
Right.
which we take and some of which we decide not to, but we appreciate them making those suggestions.
Town manager's report.
Thank you, Mr.
No
Chairman.
payroll?
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, never mind, hold on a minute.
No, I don't want to get
We-
between
we
you
wanna
and
make sure we
signing
all
off
get
on
paid. Oh my
paychecks.
goodness, it's Christmas time, I
Don't
forgot.
jump the gun.
I jumped the gun here.
Don't have anybody working.
That's right.
They'll all quit. Now you can go.
Okay, thanks again, Mr. Chairman. The town manager and the zoning officer met earlier today with the developer of a proposal to possibly develop a 4-acre, 500-kilowatt solar farm off Cornhill Road on land owned by Rick Colburn, not far from the Rutland town line. This fellow was from Green Lantern, and he hopes to meet with members of the town's planning commission possibly at their January meeting, so stay tuned for more on that. There will be a staff meeting tomorrow, Thursday, December 19th at 9 here at the Town Office Conference Room, and as always, selectmen are invited to attend. Good news on the tax sale front. We're down to 4 parcels now subject to tax sale, with another one having removed themselves from exposure to the tax sale with a payment. There is a vacancy in the town's 7-member planning commission. Notices seeking applications have been posted around town in the local paper and on the town's website. The notice will also be included in the upcoming edition of the town's newsletter. There is a modest stipend available to the appointed candidate. Health Officer Bruce Babcock will be stepping down along with his other duties in, we believe, May of 2020. And that will leave, again, a vacancy in the health officer position. Notices seeking applications for this volunteer position have been posted around town in the local paper and on the town's website. We'll also mention it in the town's newsletter. If anybody has any interest in learning more about those positions, we do have information we can share, and we'd be happy to work with anybody who expresses an interest. For the most part, the transfer station roof project was completed earlier this week. I've also heard from the Proctor Select Board requesting another meeting between their policing committee and our own. And so I'll be following up with Tom and Dave and the chief tomorrow, maybe about available dates and times. As I mentioned earlier, the town has received a draft audit. Now becomes a little bit of interaction between the staff and the auditors. Final report will be issued with a presentation to follow, usually in January or in one of the February meetings. The town offices and the transfer station, which happens to fall on Christmas, the opening that would normally take place on Christmas and New Year's, both of these will be closed on Wednesday, December 25th, and again Wednesday, January 1st, in observance of and celebration of Christmas and New Year's Day. Finally, the town manager will be away on vacation between Christmas and New Year's holidays, returning Friday, January 3rd. And I hope it's all right with you if I get packets to you for that January 8th meeting on that Monday, January 5th. Thanks.
Guess I'll have to be.
Yes. And Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, everybody.
Same to
Same to
you.
you.
Thank you.
Now, Bruce, he's been like health officer
For
for
many years.
long time.
Yes.
Many.
Would it be in order to give him some kind of a little recognition thing for his services?
Well, that's
What
something
that
I'd like to
would be
discuss
like.
with the board, maybe in executive
Yeah.
session sometime down the
Yeah.
road. We did a nice send-off to Charlie Rivers, for example, for his
Right.
decades of service. And I would think that maybe something along those lines, if he's willing to endure it, might be appropriate. I know that's going to be the tough part.
Yeah, we
Maybe we'll surprise him,
That's exactly why we should talk about it
Yeah.
without the cameras on us.
Right.
because he's been involved for, I don't know how
Okay.
long, but
Firefighter,
My
water,
guess would be
sewer,
30, 40
health
years.
officer,
I mean.
hunter
Longer than that.
education classes, et cetera, et cetera.
Right,
Yeah, I agree.
after all them years.
Any selectmen remarks this evening?
What about our new Chevy truck? What's the deal with that?
I'm told by Chad, and I was hoping he'd be here tonight.
He is.
Oh,
Just
he
walked
is.
in.
Well, take it away, Chad. I think you heard about something in January?
Yes, it should be starting to build shortly, hopefully by the end of January. We'll have it. So, took,
At least it won't get salt on it for a while.
That's true. Last a little longer.
Not this year.
It's not,
to get the truck bodies, we're waiting on that.
but didn't they knew when we ordered the
They're
truck, we
backed
didn't,
up.
they're backed up that much?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
So if we want a truck for next year.
You better be on
order January, like this January. So,
It's a long ways from here to China, Dave.
Yeah, I guess.
Anybody else? Anything else?
That was my only,
I've got one thing. The fire department host company at their annual meeting, I don't know if the board's aware, we've got to purchase, the fire department has to purchase 5 more SCBA's this year. At a cost, what was it, but about $32,000 if I remember? About $32,000. So the host company have offered to pay for half of them this year. From the
Wow.
funds from the haunted house, so
oh,
that'll amount to $18,000. So it's, we want to send them a thank you when we get that.
Absolutely.
But I just want to make the board aware of that.
good, thank you.
Okay. I guess we'll go into new business. And we'll consider authorizing the town manager to sign the railroad crossing update agreement, I guess. That's,
We've done it before on other crossings, but because we are dealt with, about 10 pages of dangerous sounding words, we thought we'd have somebody come down and explain to us why we shouldn't be worried about taking on all the duties of the world and all the liabilities of the world. So take it away, Josh.
So the finance and maintenance agreement is a standard agreement that the state sends to every town doing a project that somehow involves them. So for Kendall Hill and People Hill Road, which I have here, you guys can they're tabbed. Basically, it shows that we're putting in new gates at these crossings. They have signals already, but so finance and maintenance agreement allows us to put that stuff in, and some of it is, most of it's in our right of way, but some of it is in the town road right of way. It also tells you that we're paying for all of it, but when you're done, the stuff that I believe is in blue is what you guys are responsible for after, which is nothing different than you are today.
Signage,
Signs and
striping.
lines,
Oh,
basically.
signage.
The upgrades in those plans are based on a diagnostic review that we do with the state, federal highway, federal railroad, and the town. We've met with John and you were there, someone was there. Anyway, so we go over what our plan is, and we talk about whether this is the best scenario of making that crossing safer, and we all take a vote. And so that plan's trying to run based on that diagnostic.
When you say gates, you're referring to arms that come
Yep.
down?
Yep, so right now they're lighted.
They're just lighted now?
Yep, and with the Amtrak coming through, potentially 21,
Higher speed.
higher speed, so it gives us better safety.
Much more time for
Yep,
people
it's
knowing
more of
something
a,
coming.
it's more of a visual thing, so when it's down, people know, don't cross, don't try to run around it. But there's, like you said, there's a lot of stuff in that finance and maintenance agreement. It's basically all boilerplate, like every town gets the same one. And the first page is really the difference town to town. And it says what our responsibility is, that we're paying for it, what pieces of equipment are we're responsible for. So it talks about, in the later part of the finance and maintenance agreement, it talks about lights. But those are referring to streetlights, which we're not doing here. Traffic, it says traffic lights, and that's, red, yellow, green, not railroad crossing lights. So some people get
Confused with
caught
that,
on
yeah.
that.
So that, if I might, that's number 6 in this, because that was my question. It says we are supposed to provide the electrical power for the traffic control devices and streetlights.
Right, so there is no traffic control devices, it's all.
So those arms aren't considered the traffic?
Nope.
Okay.
So that's,
Okay.
basically, this is the same agreement that we would give like Brandon when they're redoing their downtown. And we're putting in those streetlights and basically saying, after this, you guys are responsible for them. So whatever agreement you would have with that town. But for these, they're straightforward. There's a lot of stuff in there that really doesn't apply. But we have to put it in anyway with our lawyers.
Okay, I guess,
You got a question,
I do.
Mitch? Go for it.
Thank you. So, is this the same agreement that the city of Rutland just signed for putting the water line underneath the tracks down at Park Street?
No, that is
It's a
different.
agreement, because there was a big dust up on that.
Correct.
And the legislature changed, instructed AOT to change the language in that agreement. And if it was the same agreement, I
Say
would
don't.
want you to know that it should be agreed. But if this is just a right-of-way agreement for highway.
Right, so the agreement you're talking about is like a utilities agreement
Yep.
that we have. So basically, we own the railroad right away, and this is allowing, that agreement is allowing you to put your line in. It's a master agreement is what they call it.
Right. We pay $50 a year for the pleasure of having our water line under one of the crossings on Kendall Hill, where the upgrade was to connect Pittsford and Florence water systems.
Right, yeah.
I think, Josh, thank you. I think the new agreement relieves the towns of some responsibility of liability on maintenance under the rail. I get that right?
I don't know, because it is, like you said, it's brand new.
It's brand new. It's, so if you have anything under the rail,
We do
the
enforce.
Yep.
situation has changed.
Yep.
Okay.
But we wouldn't be, we're not changing your water line or affecting it in any way. But we're, in Florence, we're basically taking up the asphalt that's there, putting in concrete panels, adding gates there, and then we're also putting up a extra warning light to the west, so toward Palmia. And that will, when the crossing goes off, it does the pre-warning light, so that trucks coming down the hill know that there's something occupying the
Didn't
tracks.
they just do an awful lot of pavement work there on that one 2-3 years ago?
They
you
had
want to
some
call it that.
kind of
Well-
panels put in to kind of
No.
remove some of the
No.
bump.
No, they just threw some asphalt down and cuffed it over and,
Oh,
no
It was a
offense, but
project for a
it's
while,
pretty rough.
for several weeks, if I remember correctly, on the truck route, at that crossing. Don't you remember?
Yeah, that was,
Oh.
yeah,
I think they just
it was rough before, but it's rougher now.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't help it,
No.
no, it didn't.
Panels in that kind of
Dave,
So the other question I've got is on 21, hazardous material contamination. Anytime I've ever walked down the railroad tracks, there's always a lot of oil leakage.
Yep. So,
So, I mean, I get it if it's under ours, but if it's come from the railroad, why are we gonna be responsible for it?
and you're not. So,
Well, that's not what it's,
yeah, so, I remember, I don't know.
no, it's right here.
Yeah.
It's the cost of handling, treatment, and disposal of petroleum contaminated soils or other hazardous material contamination in existence prior to construction of the project shall be non-participating. Accordingly, any costs associated therewith shall be the sole responsibility of the municipality.
So that's for when we do, like Brandon, where, I don't know if you guys have a shared, I can't think what it's called, but, you know, it's a state route. but
Oh, no, we don't own Route 7 like Brandon does, if that's what you're
Right,
asking.
something like that, or we're doing a town highway, or, you know, anytime we're in your right of way, we're basically, if it's your stuff, then you are responsible for it. However, this is 90% of it is in our right of way. The only part that's in your right of way is a hole, you know, big enough for a foundation. And we don't see any hazardous material that would be in there.
So what you're saying really is that this document is kind of one size fits all to cover any potentialities, and a lot of them simply don't apply in this situation.
Yes, unfortunately, it's one that we use for every,
Right.
any kind of project, and rail is phenomenal in it, that, you know, we own the right of way, and it just happens to be, you know, on your town road. Where most of these are, you know, state routes, or where we may not own it.
The good news being that this is not only in the minutes, but on recorded television.
Right. So we-
Well, yeah, but I don't like the way that's worded.
No,
but
I-
that's
Read that way, yeah.
that, you know.
Is this, I guess, if I call it an upgrade, that's what would be the way to describe it, an upgrade to their safety? That-
We call it a safety upgrade.
Okay. Is this to do with the anticipation of a passenger train running up and down the valley here?
Correct.
So what's they're proposing that we get involved with, or we're responsible for it, doesn't necessarily apply all over the state to other, like going down towards Ludlow, and there's other railroad tracks that don't have to meet these same requirements?
So, in the state of Vermont, most of our well, all of them probably have by now. I haven't been here long enough to go through all of them, but they go through a diagnostic, just like we did with John here, and it's based on sufficiency rating, which is a 0 to 100 scale, and it takes in effect that the crossing is skewed, if there's lights, or if there's just a crossbucks. It takes in how many cars are going across every day, how many trains are going across every day, trees that are in the way of visibility. It goes through all that and spits out a number. It's a spreadsheet, and if it's above 60, we consider it a safe crossing. So what we have at these two crossings may not be what's needed. For instance, like Town Hill Road, what we did a couple of years ago here, where there's a tractor going across it, maybe, and some pedestrians. So that's how we come up with what we have for protection.
But because of this upgrade and the anticipation for a passenger service to run up and down the Champlain Valley, the town is going to be burdened with some additional liabilities and additional expenses. Am I correct there?
No.
I'm not correct there.
No, so any upgrades we're doing as part of this project is our responsibility. We're paying for the ones that
Right.
are in your right of way and all that
But
sort of stuff.
the operation of them from here till the end of time, the town of Pittsford will not be.
Well, I say no, but, so the actual gates and lights and that whole mechanism is our responsibility, or the leasing of our railroad. You're responsible for the lines and the signs. So like, there's a big round cross sign with that, it's yellow and it's got 2 R's on it. That's your responsibility to replace it when it's non-reflective anymore, and to make sure that the lines are painted. That's no different than it is today. You have that same responsibility today.
We do.
Um,
So then there's no change
Nope.
from what it has been. Well, then why are we talking about this?
Only because I was
Because
cautious
there's
when I
so
read
much.
this, and I wanted him to kind of tell
Explain
us
it.
that there's really nothing to worry about.
We wanted to hear it from the
'Cause-
horse's mouth.
Yeah, because if he wasn't here, if he wasn't here, you'd all be asking me that, and I'd be saying, I don't know.
Yeah. It's the same exact agreement that was signed
A few
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
When we did Town Hill.
Right, right.
The only thing that's changed is the language about the gates and lights and locations, basically.
Dave?
I have one question that's kind of not related, but it is, you're talking about Amtrak. Is there any plan for there to be a station for Amtrak on one of those crossings for people in Pittsford?
No, I don't think so.
Higher people than me have determined that the stations are going to be Middlebury, Virgins, and Burlington.
Despite a lot of lobbying from Shelburne.
Yeah, they're, like I said, a lot higher than me.
So that's hopefully gonna be a faster train without all the local stops.
Yeah.
I guess, but you got
Yep.
Yep.
people who would like to use it now, have
course.
gotta drive, what do you drive to Rutland to go, no, I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
but anyway, that's,
Is that gonna stop in Rutland? I didn't think
Yeah,
it
still
was.
stop, so.
It'll go to Rutland, Rutland,
And then it'll
Middlebury.
continue to Burlington, it'll overnight somewhere in Burlington.
That headed toward Bennington or Whitehall?
Whitehall.
Whitehall.
Wow.
Yeah, there was talk years ago about going to Bennington.
I know.
Not anything recently.
Personally, I'm not a big fan of passenger rail here in Champlain Valley, but that's just my personal opinion.
Safer than logging trucks.
if you're a milk hauler,
Joe, that was a low blow.
You want George,
I couldn't resist.
George will get run over by a train.
Hey.
Oh, okay.
So next time you go across tracks, go really slow.
Do we have any further questions for this gentleman? He probably would like to get headed north.
Back to Barry.
Back to Barry.
I would like some sort of either general consent
Well,
or a
we'll-
vote to authorize me to sign off.
We will,
Yeah.
we will. So if you don't have any further questions for us, then I guess you're free to hit the road. Say bye. Thank you.
you.
We
Thank
thank you
you.
for
Follow
coming
up with you,
down.
Josh.
I'm gonna
Thank
give
you.
John general consent to sign.
Yeah, just, you got a consensus of the board to sign that, I guess. We don't need a motion. do we?
Yeah, I'll take it. I'll
Everybody in
take it.
favor?
If you can spare it.
I'll object, just, well, I have a problem with the way that's written, so I
Well,
just,
it's
I
statewide, so I mean.
I understand that, but I still,
All right,
I'm,
so it's
And that's the only one
still a
you had an
consensus of
issue
the
with?
board, I guess.
once he, yeah, got, well, the 50% things, but that's, well, yeah, there was the one at the beginning, number 6, I had an issue with that too, but I thought that was, we were gonna have to pay for the cross arms and the lights, but it isn't, it's some other kind of lighting, so.
I would prefer to see the railroad take care of all of its responsibilities and not the highway department here in town.
Well, yeah, but that's been that way forever, doing
Yeah.
those cross signs.
Well, and the signs,
That's, is our,
yeah.
took us forever to get the lights at by the dump. How many years we just, oh God, forever getting, and that's a dangerous crossing there, because you can't see
You
the
can't
train.
see it.
You can't see the train coming south.
And by the time it's there, it's
It's
moving.
too late.
Yeah.
It's too late by
it's
then.
Moving then,
Yes, it is.
yeah.
Let's see. We'll skip over here, I guess.
We got Chad here
We
for a
got
couple
Chad.
things.
Yeah, why don't we do Chad? We can skip around here.
If you'd like to stay on new business, we can talk about Humphrey Road
Yeah,
first.
we can do
Chad,
that one.
there's some materials in your packet showing just
Yep.
the general location of the intersection, and I think it's got very few residents living on it. I think Chad says three,
There's
right?
only like 3 houses
Yep.
up there.
But the idea is to make it for a more easily maintained T intersection with a stop sign rather than, is it a couple of yield signs now?
There's no sign.
No signs at all, all right.
And then nothing.
Why don't you tell us what your thinking is, Chad?
The way it's the Y now, actually changing that so grass island, which be where the road is set up. Spoke with the state, they're, contact them this spring, they're willing to come in and measure it all out, so it's the way it's supposed to be, the way they have it written up. It's just kind of a matter of just digging that island down, or the center down, putting some good gravel in. Putting the, other current road to grass. And just gets rid of, it's kind of an inconvenience for grading, plowing wise, and I think kind of recommended now that a lot of the, when they're redoing the roads, are going to T's instead of Y intersections. So.
It would simplify it for you quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah.
can understand. Is there any input from the people that might be involved or live over there? Has anybody had any positive or negative comment, or you haven't heard anything?
Haven't brought it up to them yet.
Would you like me to
I don't
either
know.
send a letter asking for input, or have Chad just informally knock on a couple doors?
I just tell them we're doing it if we decide to do it.
Yeah.
That's
I'm just trying to be sensitive to
Well, you- when
budding
you come to a
concerns, that's
T-
all.
Yeah, but it's.
Well, it shouldn't be a big deal.
It's more of a
Well,
safety
and I
issue.
get it, you got that
Yeah.
curve, you're looking,
Yeah.
you know, rather than looking, you gotta look kinda back.
Yeah.
I mean, my only question is, when, do we have any anticipation of when we're gonna fix the rest of West Creek down through there?
I'll be
My
done
question,
together.
We do it all at the same time, rather than, you know, just have it done and
Yep.
do it all at the same time.
If we're thinking
But I mean, if
that's
it's gonna
our
be
next
20
road.
years before we do that,
Right,
then
right. Certainly
our
not
next
that
one will
long,
be done,
but
isn't
I guess it
It
depends.
needs it.
Yeah. I guess it depends what the board wants to do on that. Now, the first two stretches were first a Class 2 grant, which we used about 4 years ago with Markowski doing the work at the north end to the railroad trestle. This last batch we did on our own dime, basically sacrificing some paving work on
Right.
other parts of town, which was West Creek Road North.
Aren't we
of the
due
trestle.
for a highway grant?
We're not probably for another 3 years, since we just got one at Whipple Hollow. So it'd be 3 or 4 years if we're waiting for a big infusion of cash. Now, as you know, you have other piggy banks that you can raid if you want to make that happen sooner.
Well, that road's terrible over there. Jesus.
Certainly the most
I don't
active.
see how that road can wait another 4 years myself.
No.
That
Well,
just
this
can't.
is-
Either that or you're gonna turn it into gravel.
Is this
well,
something?
it's at the point where
It's
it's
at
better
that
to
point.
grind it up and.
It would be, there's no question, it's
Chad, you're talking
terrible.
about kind of a grind and fill kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, I
Mill and
think
fill?
'Cause that road is
Rockford
bad.
to
Yeah.
where we are, I think there's a mile left.
Yeah.
There is, on the corner there, that box culvert, that'd be hopefully next year.
Yeah, we're hoping to get a structures grant to deal with that.
So that'll need to be done
Before
before,
you-
we like split it up into, half-mile sections. But yeah, I think it's a lot better, I mean, it's in rough shape, but base-wise, it's better than the section we did this year, as far as dips and divots and stuff. Just needs to be brought up and better material, but yeah, I think, my opinion, grinding the asphalt that's there,
And then level
putting a
it,
little, adding some gravel to it, building that up.
so that can be
Well,
done
it needs
next
to
year
grow,
then,
yeah.
if we're gonna grind that, that wouldn't be that expensive to do that, would it?
Um,
So what would we be looking at for that?
That I don't know yet.
Is that something to
I
look
can get
into?
some calls for some pricing on the grinding.
Cause that road is terrible. I mean,
Yeah, it's nice.
Well, isn't that,
Nice
I mean, you
and
got
long.
fairly light soil there on
Yeah.
both sides of the road. I mean, the last section we did, you got a swamp,
Yeah.
well, semi-swamp on one side and a swamp on the other. I mean, that's why that was in
Yeah.
bad shape.
Yeah,
But this road, I would think, yeah, like you're saying, grind it and build it, but you wanna get those culverts done first.
Yeah.
we got.
You don't wanna be like Brandon and pave it and then dig
Right,
them all out.
right.
We're doing, 2 this spring. The last 2 that
la-
need to be replaced.
The last two that you
So
can do
then-
in-house, then there's a box culvert.
And then
that
a
On
needs
the
to
box
be-
culvert.
Yeah.
So when would you wanna do this, Chad? This T? What's your time in
I was
there?
thinking this
Do it-
spring.
Do it this spring?
Yeah.
I can't see where that would cost a heck of a lot of money
No.
to do
No.
that.
This,
I wouldn't think. Yeah, I don't think we're talking big money. Go ahead, Joe.
this, straightening out the end of the Humphrey Road, is that something you do yourself with your own equipment?
Yeah.
I kind of,
Yeah.
it's not that much.
Yeah.
And it's not gonna involve a hell of a lot of money. You gotta dig out some stuff and drag in some good gravel and,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that's kind of a little patch-up job that your own crew can do.
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah. So we'd probably be
I don't see anything wrong with that.
Couple days.
I do, well, maybe after the deal we had with the Hubbardton Road, I wonder
That's the reason I'm trying to
If
be a
all
little
these-
sensitive to
if these
butters'
people over there
concerns.
should be notified or give them a chance to voice their opinion. I mean,
But maybe a
One way or
letter's,
another.
maybe a letter rings the dinner bell. Maybe you can have casual conversations.
I would talk to him,
There you go.
let Chad talk to him and see what
Yeah.
the reaction is.
Tell them what we're gonna do.
Redid the.
Just tell him you're planning, huh?
Tell them what we're gonna do.
Yeah, tell him, that's what we're planning on doing.
You know,
Yeah.
it's not like you're
No, it's not.
taking right away or,
No.
no, I mean.
actually people will gain a little because that island
I
will
was
be
gonna
gone.
say,
And more
the
lawn.
two landowners are gonna gain some property there, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyways, what's the board's pleasure on this, I guess? I think we
Go for
discussed
it.
it long now.
I'd say do it,
Yeah,
We need a motion then.
I'll make the motion.
contact the folks.
We have a motion on the
I'll
board.
second it.
We have a motion, a second, to go forth with this project. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
Chad's
Now,
also here to talk
he's here,
about the
yep.
equipment and vehicle replacement fund. And in, I think in tonight's packet, you have the updated version, which reflects still a 10-year cycle for trucks. Basically, the idea is that we put money aside every year into the vehicle and equipment fund so that we don't come up short when it's time to replace a piece of equipment on kind of a schedule. And we've established kind of lifespans for equipment, but we've also adjusted it. Chad and I have had conversations about different pieces of equipment, and some of them have been repaired recently to the point where we've bought them additional life, longevity. And so we've put back a couple of these pieces of equipment so that we're not, in danger of putting too much money aside, just enough to cover what we think our needs are based on today's costs for equipment, knowing that that will change over time. What I have done also, I haven't given it to you yet, is computed how that number would change if we were to get more aggressive with a 7-year truck replacement schedule. You do see an email from our Charlebois sales guy, Sandy Ladd, who has visited with the select board before. His general input, and he doesn't want to be quoted or relied upon too much, but as a general rule of thumb, his opinion was that, yes, if you trade in these old trucks after 7 years rather than 10, you might see as much as $30,000 more value on the trade-in. So I think that partially offsets the increased cost of buying trucks more frequently. And the way I saw the numbers were it would cost the town about $17,000, $18,000 a year more in putting money aside if we wanted to adopt the more aggressive 7-year cycle for trucks. But you tell me, Chad, your experience is probably what we have seen, which is that the older your trucks get, beyond the 7 years maybe, the more expensive the repairs and the more downtime you lose with the trucks being in the shop.
Yeah, I mean, like last year with truck 5, it was down six weeks. And actually, I pulled the records for that truck. Once it turned 7 years till now, we've put in 17,000, actually over $17,000 into it.
How old is that truck?
It's a 2011. That's due for replacement next, well, yeah, this year, really. Next fiscal year.
That's a tandem.
That's our first tandem.
First tandem.
That's number 5, okay.
Yeah, it's just, and that, I mean, that's including tires and stuff, which you're gonna buy anyways, but, you know, just extra sets since we've had it longer. But yeah, just you get into the wiring issues. Actually, I think, yeah, that doesn't include the latest one it had, was a wiring issue. I haven't seen that bill for that yet. Wasn't too bad though, I don't think. So yeah, it's just, you know, the nice thing about going 7 years, you get the warranty, everything's covered,
Oh, yeah,
and then it's gone. So,
yeah.
That makes sense.
Well, unfortunately, in this day and age with all these
All the computer
electronics,
stuff, oh,
you're
yeah.
deaf, all this stuff,
Yep.
yeah, unfortunately, an extended warranty is,
At one time, we had some help from VLTC on this issue, if I remember right. I think, John, you've got some comparatives and stuff.
Yeah, and I do talk with the other town
Correct-
managers, and a lot of them are going to the 7 years.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but there was quite a lot of variation.
There is.
Between towns as what they did
Some
and,
drop.
this truck that you, what is it? It'll be 10 years old in 21.
yeah,
How many miles are on it right now? Any idea, or perhaps you don't know?
yeah, honestly, I didn't think to look.
Your guesstimate is that you're putting about 8,000 or 10,000 miles a year on your trucks?
Yeah, so I would, yeah, I mean, it's somewhere 65,000 on it probably.
Yeah, I realize plow trucks are not trucks like I use, but 100,000 miles is no miles at all on a truck.
Right.
Over the road.
A
Not
plow
a
truck
highway
is different.
truck, no.
That's a big difference.
Well,
no,
it's nothing
but this isn't a highway truck, that's the problem.
I realize that, but it's pretty expensive to trade vehicles, whether it's a car, truck, or whatever, just because the warranty's running out. I mean, there is extended warranties, which personally I don't get into, but, and there may be information available as to how that, I don't know if the league could give us any further help, or we've had comparisons and
Right,
we've talked about it
right,
before, and
Right,
so it's probably just a matter of our opinion, I guess.
right, and I would point out that, you know, having a highway truck for the public's good is different than you're having a truck for your
Right,
good.
personally, yeah,
Because
you
you might
take-
have a Plan B truck or a Plan C truck.
We don't.
This is for us to maintain the roads when it's least convenient in terms of trucks being away and that kind of thing.
Now, right now, correct me if I'm wrong, but as we're headed down the road, we're gonna have one truck more than we even need in the very near
We
future.
decided not to trade
Not to
in.
trade that
Oh,
550.
550.
So with having one extra truck, does that make it possible to look at the replacement in a little different light? And do we intend to keep an extra truck just for the fun of it? No, I hope not.
No, I think
No,
our
that
deal
wasn't
was we were gonna, once the new truck came, I think the idea was we were gonna write down the mileage that 550's got on it.
Yep.
In a year later, look and see how much we're really using it.
And if we're not
And if we
using it,
aren't using it, it
It's
goes.
going, it'll go, because
It'll
we've
go.
sunk a lot of money into that truck.
We've
Just
sunk a
recently.
lot of money in that truck since we ordered the new one.
Well, I know there's been,
We won't get our money back unless we use it.
Well,
I hope that it's, some of it isn't abuse, but there's, I mean, I have no way of knowing.
No, I mean, they
Basically,
work hard. I mean, actually, I could use an extra truck right now.
Yeah, I'm sure,
It's in the shop, so.
Which one's number, because this just has dump trucks, which,
Truck two is the
Truck
other
two.
tandem.
the 2012?
Or 12 or 13, yeah.
You won't
Now, is
have,
that the Western Star?
No.
No, that's a
No.
single
That's the
axle.
other Freightliner.
The other Freightliner.
That's the other Freightliner, okay, and the Western Star is a single axle?
Yep,
And what number is that one?
4.
I can find it on here.
Out top, I believe.
you'll be outgrowing
Oh.
your heated garage with an extra truck on hand, won't you?
That'll be in next year's budget talk.
Good luck.
The real reason we're having this conversation is now, is that we're in the middle of budget season. and
Right.
If we do want to get a little more aggressive on the replacement schedule,
Now's
it
the
makes sense to
Adjust.
bulk up by $15,000 or $20,000, the amount we're putting aside into that fund.
It's not a huge amount right now, but it can be on the other end if we don't do it.
Yeah.
Just 7 years, you gain in that 30,000 trade-in value. I mean, plus losing 20,000 repairs, so.
Yeah. So it's,
Well, in the trade-in value, I mean, if you look at that woman's letter, it's almost, I mean, you're going from 30,000 to what? 60,000, I mean, it's almost, it's not quite, but it's almost doubles the trade-in value of the,
Yeah.
of the truck. It's a man?
Yeah.
it's made it in.
Okay, well, okay,
Yeah,
whatever. But yes,
but yes, it's,
Anything else for Sean?
Or Chad?
Or
Sean.
Chad, Jesus, I'm both.
Sean wasn't
I know,
bald,
I
Sean
know he
wasn't bald.
I know. So used to do it. Yeah, so.
So we can have that
Well,
further discussion at
during
budget time. We still have a couple more
Yeah, we
sessions if
still
you
got-
want.
Yeah, I
We
think
can always
We're gonna
tweak
get
it.
something for us to think about.
Yep, we don't have to do it tonight.
Okay.
But we got the information.
Thanks for coming in. Are you still working on the truck yourself? Or are you done for the day?
no, done.
Done?
Finished.
Good.
Time to get here.
Yeah,
Thanks for
kind
coming.
of a crazy day.
Yeah.
That little squall that came through was kind of nasty for a
Nasty.
few minutes, boy,
Yeah.
I'll tell you.
Nothing?
Nothing? Boy, you couldn't see it.
Couldn't
now
see,
for
it was
few
a
minutes.
whiteout.
It was, yeah, it was. Okay, I guess we'll take everything out of what you wanted to.
Well, I'm gonna wait for John to get.
Oh, well, we're just here,
Oh, okay.
he's here, I think mostly to talk about Vermont Route 3.
Right, Vermont Route
The
3.
update is
Yep.
that we had a good session with V-Trans. I can't always say that, but this was a good meeting where they seemed to keep an open mind and heard from everybody. And we have a bunch of, I think, very, or at least mostly pleased residents who had been having safety concerns both on the north end and the south end of Route 3 here in Pittsford. On the north end, you have the Falcos and you have the Manels and others who were hoping to move the 35 to 50 transition beyond that sharp curve in Cornhill Road. That was that was the one that we had to really work on because the recommendation was to leave it where it was. But thankfully, they agreed to push that back 0.3 of a mile. And then on the south end, the Proctor line end, there will be a 40-mile-an-hour transition from the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit in Proctor to the 50, which picks up around the Taranovich field. So for that span, it'll be 40, which is, again, a good step forward, given that V-Trans doesn't always play so nicely with local towns, so we appreciate that. And Butch, of course, as did I, spent a lot of time watching and learning how that process works, and hopefully we learned when to speak up and when to shut up, and if the thing's going our way, shutting up is always the best option.
It is. We had a discussion.
Yeah, yeah.
So, we actually had a plan B and a plan C if we got shot down on the northerly leg of that. While other people, we were the 18th person in line that day or so.
I think so, yeah.
And just as an aside, it's critical to be in the room when you're asked for something like this.
Oh,
If you
yeah.
do it over the telephone, we saw them deny most of the people all the people that were on the phone. And not in, so it's critically important that John was there for you, give him a little shout out on that because, and it was well done. You read committee, you see what they're doing. we left the room twice to formulate a strategy, and they noticed that, so they knew we were prepared. After our hearing was done, they took a break, I had a chance to talk to some of the people on the committee, and they were like trying to figure out what we were doing.
What are you up to?
So that was a good piece. And I'm here tonight because Joe Kelly, who was the regional, Southwest Regional Traffic Safety Engineer that prepared the study for the 3 problems that we asked them to look at, his letter that was in the packet that I have here recommended actually 3 changes, actually recommended 2 changes and 1 leave it alone. The southern end, he recommended reducing that speed. As you know, the northern end, he recommended leaving it alone, and the traffic committee overruled him. The 3rd recommendation, which the traffic committee missed, and the traffic operations engineer who kind of presents the state's case to the committee also missed this. It was a 2nd page of the recommendations from Joe, which concerned the slip lane coming off Cornville Road. The state is actually recommending that be eliminated and teed off.
Yeah.
And they actually, there's currently if you can envision it, there's currently there's already an access onto Route 3 that's a tee-off intersection. Recommend moving that closer to Pittsford so you have better sightline distances. The advantages of teeing this off now are that that's a 35-mile-an-hour speed limit. So the speed
Slower traffic
through there. It would eliminate that slip lane that I hate, and Tom knows the reason why I hate
Yep.
it. My son was almost killed coming out.
Yeah.
When he was riding on Route 3, he was hit by a car.
Car
coming out
nailed
the
it.
slip lane.
Oh, coming up, yeah.
And Kathy actually did.
Yep,
So
good thing she was there.
my question to you is, they've made some recommendations in that. They have said, well, why don't you go to the Planning Commission of V-Trans Municipal Assistance to talk about this. I would like to know if you would like me, as your representative, to pursue this and look for some funding and not get it on the construction schedule and get it on the maintenance schedule. That would be a big deal, because we're on the
Yeah.
construction schedule, you're 10
You're way
years
out.
Right.
But if we could get it on the maintenance, if we could get approval from the secretary.
That's not a huge thing to do.
Well, get
You
it
know,
right
it's,
away.
yeah, but
They were
I'm saying
gonna
the
do-
actual doing it's
They-
not
no,
that
the
big of a
construction
deal.
piece is easy.
Yeah.
They looked at it for inclusion in the Route 3 project, but there are some right-of-way issues, and I'm not sure what they are, and you may be asked to help with the right-of-way acquisition.
Must,
I'm not sure.
well, it must be the part, because part of it's town right away and state.
It could very well be. You're right in the middle of this town.
With, I mean, if you figure the right of way of both of those roads, you
I know.
got that island, there can't be more than a bushel basket in the middle that isn't
If you're gonna go-
Simple for you,
I-
simple for me.
But
very
not so
complicated for.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Very,
True.
if it's not complicated yet, but
It
it will be,
It
it
will
will
be.
be, yeah.
So, so I guess I'm here to say, to help John to take the victory lap, which he clearly deserves. And actually, after the decisions were made, I called Mary and asked her if there was an earthquake in Pittsburgh. This is a huge move for the traffic committee to
Yeah.
reduce the speed, huge move.
Wow.
Yeah, and so to help John take the victory lap and ask you if you want me to pursue that and see if we can get something free.
I see head shaking.
Or at low cost. or
It doesn't mean no.
No.
Yeah.
You want a motion? We can make a formal motion.
Well,
Have
I
him
may
pursue it.
need to have John
Write a letter.
supporting this item, and he'll refer to it, I'm sure, when,
Yep.
in Joe Kelly's recommendations.
So,
Let's give John,
V-Trans.
let's give John consensus to
yep,
write the letter.
consensus of the board is to go ahead and write a letter.
Yeah, I'll work with John.
Yep.
Yep, work with John and,
Great.
yep.
Well, I wonder if there was any consideration or thought given to, on the west side of Route 3, cutting that brush and bank down a little to improve, not to change
that
the
was a
road,
big-
but
that
to
was a big-
improve visibility.
Yeah.
Was there any
Every
thought?
conversation involves brush cutting, and
Right.
every time the Manels say, that's
Don't
not gonna help,
touch it.
that's not gonna help the
Right,
situation.
right, and you're
Doesn't
right,
mean,
Joe.
doesn't mean we can't
Right.
have V-Trans do
So I
it
think-
within their right of
I
way.
think you see V-Trans cut the brush within their right of way when they redo the signs, and the striping out through there, Joe. I think
Even,
that's part of
even
their
if
plan.
if it meant they had to, if they could clear all of that corner,
But, Joe, they don't own all of that corner.
well, if the landowners would
That's-
agree,
Okay.
and they had to put them a nice cedar hedge or something, that would improve that
Good luck.
a lot.
Therein lies the problem.
It's the same thing out by Davenport's on the Furnace Road, that's the same situation, those two spots have a lot in common. And
So
we talked about
You
it,
might
but
wanna,
We talk about it every year and
we
it doesn't
talked, well, I
change.
talked to the Manels about it, and I think that, John's talked to the Manels about cutting the brush on their half, and they say they don't wanna do it.
Nope.
Because they
And-
think
and-
they think it's a noise barrier.
And it's one thing to have the Manels as allies against V-Trans with
Right.
their passion.
Right.
I'd hate to see them direct their fire at us.
Actually, Ms. Manel was crying while she was testifying, and that was
Part of
part
the,
of the decision.
Yeah.
Because of her passion and what she was
she
talking
was
about.
passionate about it.
So that's the first piece I want to talk about tonight, and that's, if you want me to go
That's
that.
all.
Yeah.
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 No guarantees, but we'll just.
Well-
Well, no, but
Worth a
it's a
try.
dangerous spot.
It is.
I mean, it'll be better at 35, but it's
Yeah.
still,
but cutting the speed down's a good idea,
yeah.
nothing wrong with
Because
that.
coming down Corn Hill, you can't, I
Oh,
mean,
it's
can't look
hard to,
back.
Right.
no, you can't.
you look back and if
Uh-huh.
nobody's coming, but if
No.
somebody's coming,
And it's hard to scoot up Cornell too sometimes, the way.
Well, that's even worse because you
Oh,
can't
yeah.
see anybody until
Well, that's where,
it's too late.
if that corner or that brush was all cleaned out there, it would
I-
help you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, it would,
Well,
but
them times I had close calls going to the golf course, probably be changed sometime after I'm dead.
Joe, isn't this where you say, if you had ice water in hell, you would be a lot more comfortable?
That's right, you would. And I don't think it's gonna happen. You got something else for us, or?
I do have two other things.
Okay.
You want it just a open public comment or whatever?
Just go ahead.
So I had the opportunity to.
While you're here, do it.
Opportunity to attend cybersecurity training at North University this week in seminars. And it was put on by, actually the legislature put it on, and invited various people. VLCT was there. It was enlightening, learning that we are all really at risk for ransomware. And I point out to Omnia.
Yep.
But they also gave us scenarios about various towns, various sizes and various sizes of towns. Towns as big as Houston, Texas that have been attacked.
Baltimore?
Huh?
Baltimore?
Atlanta.
Baltimore have been attacked, and small towns like ours have been attacked. They talk about if these ransomware folks get into your system, they could dwell there for 18 months or 2 years before they attack you.
Jeez.
Wow.
And in that time, they're ruining your system. And then the day they want to go, they go. And then they send you a ransom note. Atlanta, Georgia was 58,000 bitcoins. Bitcoins have a value of anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 given a day. So it's pretty expensive when they go back to you. One of the instructors, his town was attacked, and it cost his town somewhere in the neighborhood of $2.5 million, bigger town, 100,000 people. So the LTC is going to develop a policy, try to help develop a policy for you. They're going to look into cybersecurity insurance that you may or may not be able to purchase. And some various, they're going to offer you some various options. But when they do, I would say don't put it aside without looking at it, because if you get ransomware here, it's everything now. You get NEMRIC or something like that, or the Lister's office or whomever gets attacked, it's going to be painful.
One of the reasons we saw the big increase in NIMRIC fees
Right.
is because of their cybersecurity concern and their desire to move everything up to the cloud
Yeah.
for better security.
A lot of state stuff is now no longer on hard drive servers, it's in the cloud.
Helen has suggested, as
She-
part of her capital campaign,
She
to start thinking
talked
about
about it.
30 grand
35,000.
toward a security upgrade, but, that's, she didn't put it in the budget, but she has that as a
She
plan for the
talked
future.
about it.
And that's a big nut, if that's,
I think VLCT is going to happen. Karen Moore is there from VLCT.
Yep.
And I think they're going to have something for you. They're working on policy now. Of course, pooling it with VLCT would be a good thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's gonna be a day when maybe we'll think about throwing the computers out and buying some pencils and paper and going back to the
Well,
old
That would
system.
be your that could be your backup.
You know?
no,
That
that's,
could be
yeah.
your backup.
It's
You are
Yeah.
kidding, it's,
sad to think
I
that,
also
but
think there's gonna be a downfall.
made ourselves.
They are, Evan.
Well, we done there.
Yeah, they are.
So, and my third
My
piece,
business always had a backup.
and then I'll get out of here, is, I saw in the agenda you're gonna talk about the Lister's office tonight.
Yep.
And I know you've been in various conversations. When you get to a point of making a decision, I have some legislative strategy you can use if you want to take two different routes. And I don't know if you want to talk about it now. May not be the place.
Well, if
We are-
we're gonna make a change,
it's
we
gonna
need to
be-
do it pretty
we need to
pretty
do it
darn
soon
quick.
Because
If we're talking about a charter, we'd have to have the first notice on January 3rd
Here's a strategy.
of a public hearing.
Here's a strategy you can use. Currently, you can take this question to the voters.
Right.
And to my understanding from John, I've had this conversation with John, and you could ask the voters if they want to keep the listers or whether to go to an assessor.
Right,
Right.
And you can do that locally
right,
without a charter change or anything like that.
right.
If you wanted to do lister plus an assessor, or lister plus an assessor, or some sort of a hybrid situation, you would need a charter change to do that.
Right.
So, here's a strategy, okay? You could do, if you want to do the vote right away because of the issues finding listers, you could just do the vote right away this year and then move on. And then next year, we can put a charter change in any time. So if you wanted to do a charter change, but yet get something on the ballot, you could do both. You could do it with just
Vote
an
March.
assessor, and then if you wanted to bring in a local person, then you could ask for a charter change.
I see.
Change that. You may have to undo this vote,
Yeah,
but a charter change vote, a positive charter change vote, my assumption is it would undo this vote automatically. So that's just a strategy if you want to go there.
and that's on the agenda for sure to have
Yeah.
that
So we wouldn't have
discussion.
to go back to the voters then? Is that what you're
The
saying?
second time, you would have to go back to the voters for the charter.
For the
change,
charter
And that has
change.
to come to.
And when we say charter change, we just mean charter because we don't have a charter
Right, we
now.
don't have a
Right,
charter.
so
Right.
it's just a, it's
Yep.
a pretty easy thing to do.
Is this, from your position, do you see several or quite a few towns that are facing what we're facing, or
We see that.
it's coming, it's more and more prevalent?
More and more prevalent. We also see towns appointing town clerks and not electing town clerks.
Town treasurers, yep.
And town treasurers.
So there is
Beginning
some
to see more and
change,
more of that.
there is some change taking place.
There is. I think it's because it's hard to get people to do the jobs.
Right.
Or professionalism versus what used to be sufficient is not sufficient in a more complicated
Right.
Sure.
World.
world.
Lister's a job I wouldn't know.
Me either. That's all I'm
Oh,
It's
saying.
more technical today.
VLTC, right.
Do you want to go to the Lister discussion while we've got Butch here?
We can,
I can just.
we might as well,
I just give you the
because we
update.
got,
Dave had a question.
Yeah, so what you're saying is, just so I fully understand,
Sure.
we can have the vote at town meeting to do away with listers, go to an assessor. If, let's just say the town decides we can go to an assessor. Okay, so now we've got that set. Then, and we would have to make up a charter because we don't have one.
You wouldn't need one.
we don't need one, I guess.
No, if we wanted to go to,
Charter change?
if we,
You don't need-
no, but if we wanted to go to a hybrid system.
Right, you don't need a charter change, you don't need a charter to make a charter change. That's kind of a screwy thing. but
Right.
We can give you a charter
Huh.
change. The legislature can
Without
give
a
you a
charter.
charter
All right.
change, dealing just with this one issue.
Right.
It's crazy.
A lot of towns
Okay, so-
have
okay,
charters
so-
that just deal with one issue.
Okay, all right, so I'll rephrase the way I said that then. So we've had the vote, we're gonna go with assessors.
Yep.
But what we want is maybe a system with an assessor and say 2 listers.
Assessor,
So we have,
whatever you come up with.
so we come up with that. Now, do we have to hold a special election?
Yes.
You don't have to
Or
hold
an election for a charter.
an election, you'll have to hold an election. It doesn't have to be special, you could roll it in with the primary, which is in August. or you could
Oh,
roll it in
okay.
with the general
So it can be at any,
election. Right.
okay,
Town, you have the right to, you have
Yeah.
the right to hold a vote.
a town vote at any one of
Any
those.
election,
Yep.
So it wouldn't, other than, cost would be minimal.
print it out.
There
Okay,
would just be the need for a couple of public hearings and
Yeah.
Right.
well, yeah.
publication of what the charter language would be.
Be
and-
and-
Yeah, so that's, yeah, it could be repetitive, because I'm not sure, I think you have to warn, you warn that with, you warn your first issue with your regular town meeting warning.
what could happen is, as part of the town meeting, that could be a separate warrant article. Proctor did the same thing a couple of years ago, abolishing the listers in a one-paragraph article. And what you're suggesting is that if we want to thereafter, we could add listers to the equation, and that would require a charter vote.
Right.
Right,
And that would have to come to Montpelier.
right, for
Go through the
approval.
process in Montpelier and then be approved and come back. Very seldom do
I
we
got a
not.
question. This vote, would this be done on town meeting night, or would this be a ballot issue?
It has to be a paper ballot,
Paper
but it can
ballot.
happen at town meeting night.
At town meeting night?
Yeah.
So it doesn't
For,
have
for
to-
just getting rid of the listers.
Right, so that's not the following day?
That's right,
Okay.
that's right.
But-
That's what I thought it was.
Well, can we do it, so it would have to be at physical town meeting? It can't be at the,
My understanding was that it can be at town meeting, but the only difference is that
You have to
instead
have
of
a-
standing up or voting by voice,
Right.
you do it
Has
with a
to
paper
ballot.
ballot.
With a
but
checklist.
that's, I get that part, but, so that's the only time it can be? It can't be on the other
I
ballot?
don't know. I could find that out. I
I
think,
mean,
I think what we've been told is you can do it at town meeting. He knows about the evening. Remember,
Right.
Carl was here. You can do it at that meeting, but you have to do it by paper
By paper
ballot.
ballot.
Okay,
Right.
well, my only question is, because we don't get a
Huge
huge
turnout. yeah.
turnout
Right.
at the town hall.
Right?
If we're gonna do this, it would give everybody in town the option of
Yeah.
voting on it if they wanted
Yeah.
to. That's all, that's the only reason I'm
I can certainly ask him
asking
that
that.
question.
Because there's a limited amount of people that
Yeah,
can
I hear
fit
you.
in our town hall, much
Right.
less.
It would seem like a nice idea at the nightly meeting before the official town meeting day to have a discussion
Explain it.
and then put it on, what I guess you'd
Have
call
it
it
on the paper
Australian.
ballot.
The Australian ballot,
Australian
ballot.
And the next day,
Yeah.
I can
would
certainly,
that
I can certainly ask
accomplish,
about that.
would that accomplish our goals?
Yeah. Well,
Just don't know, I mean, we've asked this question, how many times people want stuff on, they don't even do it on the budget, you know? It's, but,
but anyway, to get to the listers discussion, I have,
millions of dollars and.
there are three options, I think, before the board. One is to simply do nothing and hope that experienced, qualified lister candidates petition to get on the ballot, and that we have wonderful lister's office without any problems.
That's
And the
not-
next option is to develop a charter for the town, which would have to be approved by the legislature to approve a system where you have a professional assessor and one or more listers. Of course, that's a budgetary concern as well, because then you'd have to pay the professional assessor plus the listers. And I don't know, some towns have listers who just do the rubber stamp at the at the grand list time, approving what the assessor's done, but others might want to roll up their sleeves and become real listers, you know, or be real listers and demand a real budget and a real compensation, be above and beyond what the assessor gets. Now, the third option is to do what Proctor's done, is simply abolish the lister's office and go to a professional assessor. I think those are the three main things before you.
You know,
But I can find
We'll
more out
discuss
about
that
the
in executive
logistics of
session,
the,
right?
of the abolishing vote and when it has to take place or when it can take place.
Okay, I'm just,
Can we do it with by Australian ballot the following day, which is actual town meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else for
If there's
Butch?
somehow we can
I say, do we got anything else for you?
make
Are you
the
deferring that
changes
to
without our
executive
budget
session?
going crazy.
Yeah,
Deferring listers?
the list is gonna be deferred to executive session. Butch was under public comment.
Yeah.
You got that, you're on the
So
ball.
I've done all the damage I could do.
Well, actually,
that's-
thank you for the info.
Isn't this the safest time in the state when the legislature's not in session?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
You're pretty safe right now.
that once every
That's gonna
20
change.
years, we'd be in good shape.
I think that'll go every 2 years. Married like it, right?
2 years, yeah,
Home for all year.
should be at least, yeah.
I think instead of a bi-cameral, we gotta go to a bi-central.
Yeah.
I don't know how much argument.
Uh,
Thank you.
We might as well
Thanks,
finish
Bud.
old
Thanks.
Merry
business.
Christmas.
Select a date for Pittsford Day, Saturday, August 15th.
Yeah, we heard from the State Fair folks, as you did as well, Chief
Yep.
Hooker, that they
On the
are
18th.
doing the 18th to the 22nd. The only other potential conflict we were worried about was Chittenden Day. I've been told that they will do it most likely the 22nd or the 29th. They want to do it the last Saturday before school starts.
Okay, so that.
I hate to dump water on it, but it's supposed to rain that day.
What would Pittsburgh Day would be without rain?
Well, yeah, have we ever had one without rain at some point?
I don't, well, a
Yeah,
couple.
Yeah, not many.
Couple, not many. We
Yeah,
end up
there's
with
some
at least a
counties
shower
there.
somewhere.
Up, to get away from the rain,
Rain.
the rain follows them.
Follows
So do we need a motion or consensus of the board?
Consensus of the board.
Consensus of the board's fine, I
Yeah.
think 15th's
I'll
fine.
notify
Works for me.
Olmec,
Works for me. Notify only on
yeah,
15th.
and anybody else.
15th
who
it
would-
is. Well, the fire department wanted to know too, so.
And I gather the fire department is happy to host it
They
again.
are.
I've talked with Chief Hempel.
They are, yeah.
And so I will communicate that as well to our friends at the Village
Yep.
Farm, who have offered again.
Okay, I guess that takes care of our old business. We'll go back into new business. And we might as well start on the update on the budget.
Okay. I won't belabor this, but we made some changes in this fourth draft of the budget because we keep getting new information. As we heard, the NEMRIC fees are up. We now have insurance quotes from VLCT for workers' comp, property, liability, vehicle, and unemployment insurance. We received some information from Pittsford First Response at the last meeting. We've put that into the budget, which now is a standalone budget within the town budget, taking them out of special appropriations. And we've done it by increasing their bottom line of $25,000, several $1,000s, but not an awful lot, because at least I proposed to have a $5,000 vehicle replacement fund and another $5,000 building maintenance and repair fund, only because all their vehicles are old and they're probably going to be needing to purchase newer used ones or new ones in the not too distant future. But more importantly, the building really has a lot of deferred maintenance, and I'm thinking that a $5,000 fund would help them start to deal with it. As of now, if we had no general fund or highway fund tax increase, with the current budget numbers, there would be about a $16,000 deficit in the general fund budget, but a $6,000 surplus in highway fund, leaving approximately $9,000 to fill either with new revenues or cost savings. Now, I will point out, and Hank has pointed this out, that our general fund balance has improved of late, but the highway fund balance is very low. Not much room for.
And that's because
for
we've
error.
overspent on winter maintenance.
That's a
sand,
that's a
salt.
very volatile budget.
We spent $34,000 the last 2 years, and we've added $21,000 this year, which is almost $90,000.
No, I hear you. And so Hank can speak for himself on it, but I have put in the packet what he handed out at the last meeting, which proposes decreasing for a year the highway fund appropriation to bridge replacement fund, reducing that from 50 to 25, eliminating the proposed $16,000, $100 increase in the paving budget, and increasing the highway revenue line by $27,000 or 2.4%. And the thought being that those things together might bulk up the highway fund balance or surplus to a more comfortable 84,000. Still not,
Maybe a 1%
still not where
overall,
it should be. but-
1% overall increase in the total budget.
Yeah.
27 grand, 27,600,
27.5 million.
close enough.
It's constantly moving.
$10
target.
is $10.
$10 is $10, that's right.
I'll throw in the 10.
You put in 10?
So if that's the board, if the board would like to take that suggestion, I can easily implement those figures. I just wanted to hear from the full board before I did that.
I mean, one thing that I worked up, and I guess this is a taboo subject, but I'm still gonna bring it up, is all these appropriations. I went through and I left, basically the entities that are within the town of Pittsford, the Cemetery Association, the Food Shelf, the Historical Society, what was the other one? It was 4 of them.
Library,
Well, the library, yeah, but that isn't in the
That's its own
appropriation,
CIS.
that's its own. I left the library alone too.
Yeah, we got that one.
The Food Shelf, Historical Society, and the Humane Society. I left those alone. I went through and I cut all the rest of them in half. And that would save us $19,318.
I've got the
Wait,
McClure
what did
Library.
you do?
I got the McClure Library as one of the special appropriations
Shouldn't be.
recipients.
Well, it's not on my list here.
$93,500.
Shouldn't be, we changed it.
It's always been a
No,
special
no.
appropriation.
What did you do to get that number? Did you say cut them in half
I
or
thought we changed
eliminated
that
them?
Cut 'em in
last
half.
time. We put it under.
Cut 'em in half.
we
That's
were gonna
half.
put it under
So it's
its own
almost
budget, like
$40,000.
I know.
And I mean, I think our library
I
covers
remember that.
a lot of this stuff.
We'll
That's
just
true.
separate that
So
out and put it,
it's,
make
it's
it,
a lot of money.
like we did with the first response.
Well, wait a second, the library has its own finances, its own books. Why would we take it out of special appropriations? I don't
Well,
get it.
so does the,
Well, we have moved Pittsford First Response out of special appropriations
yeah.
going forward, but the library,
Well, the library is not in this list.
which list are we looking at?
Special
Oh, they, well,
We've
yeah, they're
got,
paid that's right, because they're paid monthly.
they're paid
That's true.
monthly.
Yes, this is the once a year.
This is the
Yeah.
once a year
That's the once a
dole
year.
out.
Yeah, I'm looking at the budget where it's a special appropriation.
Yeah,
We make
it's-
a monthly
Well,
payment
we-
to the
We
library.
make a monthly payment to the
Right.
library. I'm not touching that.
Right, you're not suggesting any change to that,
I'm
right?
not suggesting anything
Right.
within
The yearly
Pittsford.
ones?
I'm just, all these other ones that we give to, and again, we don't have to cut all, but it's a lot of money.
It is worth looking into, and especially when seeing that some of the other, most towns of our size usually spend between 10 and 25,000. Ours is what, 70?
Well, we tried this before. We brought them up individual
Yep.
one time and we went through 3 of them. And then they stopped that and they lumped all the rest of them together and passed them all.
Yeah, I mean, you know.
But do they know how much money is
Yeah.
being spent overall?
They do.
They do?
3 or
Okay.
4 years ago, we went
We could-
line by line.
Line
and
by
did
line by
each
line.
one.
We got down
At
through 3
town meeting,
lines on
each
it all.
one we did. It took
I think
forever.
especially when the economy was not doing so well.
Right, we did
We
that
said,
back
look,
then.
we gotta
We
give you a
can do that if
chance
you
to
want,
vote
David,
up
but
or
I think
down
it's
on
an
all of
exercise
these.
in
And they said,
futility.
Okay, well, I'm
Every
just,
one through.
just,
The town,
it's
the town is
there's
very
close to
generous.
20 grand right there,
The
so.
town is very generous.
I think they
Well,
were-
his point is
They
not
have-
that the town's not generous, but
Well-
if people wanna be generous, why
They-
should they do it with the town's budget? Why not make
Well, yeah, that's,
donations?
well, that is why
to
why
the
should
towns?
we force people to pay tax money that we give to some entity that they may or may not support?
Because that's what the taxpayers want. Because they voted in every year.
Okay, I'm just bringing this up for
We've got-
discussion,
We've
trying-
asked this more than
We're
20
trying
minutes.
to
Oh, God, we've
pick
done
up some
3
extra
times since
money,
I've been on
save
board.
some
Yeah.
money.
Yeah,
done this
I know, I mean,
before.
it
And
is
we
a
get
place
shot
for
down,
us.
we
Well,
get,
I'm
get shot down every
It
time
may
we try to
raise
do
some
it.
eyebrows.
We can do it if you want. I don't have anything against
Well,
it.
I'm just
Anybody in
so
particular.
It's
that
also-
people
but-
know
And
that
that's
there's,
at town meeting though, right?
you know, because they're talking, what are they talking, a 6% increase in the
We've even
school
asked them to
tax
vote
this year?
The budget.
Anyway?
Doesn't fly.
Plus it's
Shut
done
down
publicly, and I'll bet a lot of people would vote differently behind a screen.
I know, you don't wanna,
Oh,
you don't
well,
wanna
yeah,
say
they
no,
would.
I don't wanna be
Exactly.
generous, cause that's not even the point anyways,
Well,
but.
I know.
So, but, Chad, since you're here, that 16,000, that was for, you had specific paving jobs in mind for that, right?
I believe that was just the additional amount to finish,
West Creek Road.
Oh, okay,
Brandon Ave,
okay,
just to be able to do the whole
yep.
thing.
I want to remind you guys, we spent almost $90,000 over budget for in 2 years plus what we added on this year. I think it gives us, what, $16,000 for a balance? That's not a hell of a lot of balance carried on the highway fund.
No.
Oh, no,
They
no,
recommend-
I'm not, I'm not arguing, I'm just,
They recommend 10 to 15%, and usually
Of your
on the
budget.
highway, needs to be a bit bigger than your
Like
general
150
fund.
would be an ideal number, but this takes you
Yeah,
up to
we're-
85 or so.
Yeah, we've-
Dave is trying to save some money, or gain
Nothing
some
wrong with that.
money to cover some of our other expenses, so we won't have to raise our tax rates. And I think that's a good idea. We're not hitting anybody in particular, we're hitting them all.
Yeah.
That's what you're planning.
other than the ones that are entities within the
In
town.
towns, which we're leaving alone.
Right.
Kinda makes sense to me.
I
Well, if you
know.
add that to the cuts I got, plus the 1% increase, take your cuts, that'll get your highway budget up where,
Where it should be, man.
Where it should be,
balance where it should be.
yeah.
So I don't have a problem merging those things together.
Well,
We're doing both of them.
If you did it, you'd probably want a special warrant article listing those
Oh, you'd
recipients
have
and
to.
saying that the proposal of the board or the article to vote on is it 50% reduction?
50% on, yep, right across the board. I'm not picking,
You're not singling anybody.
I'm not singling anybody, just 50% right through.
I wonder, should we do like some kind of mass mailing to
Well, I was
all
gonna
these
say,
recipients
some
saying,
of the-
You're gonna have to,
what-
you're gonna have,
what if any would be the consequences
They
of
come
us
and
cutting your
present their-
fund
you're
by
gonna have to, you're gonna have to,
65%?
certainly gonna have to let
I
them
don't
know.
think we should worry
See that for a
about
second, please.
the
This?
consequences to these
Well,
outside
Well, I'm worried about the
organizations.
bus, for example.
Yeah,
The bus
some of those
provides a
do.
service, and we
Yeah.
pay them $5,000
Right.
a year to have a bus stop
Yeah,
for the
they
convenience
stop.
of people in town.
And there's a lot of people take that bus.
They might be,
Do they?
they might say,
Yeah.
no, we're not gonna pick
Oh, yeah.
up.
Huh?
They pay to get on.
And they pay to get on it, but we also subsidize
Oh,
it.
right.
And I see people all the time waiting there to get on.
I say we had what I got in here and we had what David's got. And put mine in the budget and
Yeah,
put
yours
his.
is in the budget, yours would have to be a warrant article, I
It'll
think.
be a warrant order.
And then,
Just try, I mean, if people vote it down, then I'm wrong, which
Yeah.
I may be, but I just, it's a
So
lot of money
everybody?
to
It's-
be doing that with, to me.
Because if you do it that way, then you put that money that you were saving from there into the highway balance, which would put you up to almost $110,000.
if it's
Which is good.
approved,
If it's
and
approved.
If it's approved.
I suspect it won't be if it's a public vote, but who
Well-
knows?
It ought to,
Will you be ready to speak to the issue when it comes up on the agenda?
Well, I'm speaking to it right now.
Right.
Who's
And again, if I'm wrong,
won't-
I'm more than willing to admit I'm wrong.
Whose won't pass, mine or his?
No, it's not.
Oh, yeah,
No,
sure.
it's not.
Might not.
No,
I
won't bother
agree,
me.
probably
No,
won't,
no, I'm
but
just
we
saying
can
if
try
you
it.
want-
They're calling
Oh,
it
it'd be-
Scrooge.
Well, let's put mine in the
That's
budget.
all
Oh,
right.
yeah.
That's fine.
That's why I mentioned there's a couple different issues we're talking about now.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Hank's proposals? Shall I incorporate those into the next draft of the budget?
Yeah.
Reduction of the paving and the
Well-
increase in the general revenue line for highway and the reduction by $25,000 the bridge replacement fund? Because I'm happy to do it if that's the consensus of the board.
I
I'm
think
just
so.
looking for heads. I'm seeing a few heads, yes, okay, good. I'll do that.
I hate to cut the bridge fund,
Mhm.
because we've already stolen out of it,
Yeah.
but
But we've got plenty of time to pick that one back up, that's the good
we do,
thing.
we do. Yeah,
So
You'll have plenty
so,
of time notice that it's gonna cost.
And I'm only proposing it for 1 year, so next year we'll have the 50,000 going back in.
well, hopefully.
Hopefully.
hopefully, yeah.
Well,
So then the other topic, is there consensus, or maybe three heads that would like to add that warrant article that Dave's proposing?
add it, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Let the voters have another
Let the
try
voters
Well,
that.
no, I
Right.
just,
All we can do is give them the option.
we give them the option, and
We can say,
Shall
in one hand we're
voters-
taking away, in one hand we're giving back.
Yeah.
And I will not do any kind of mailing to these agencies. I'll
No,
just
no,
let
that's
it
not-
ride.
I think,
no, I
Yeah,
mean,
that's-
it's,
I think what Dave is trying to do is to keep our money in town for our own business.
yes.
And cut off some of the out-of-town spending.
But we tried that,
That's a good way to phrase it.
we tried that in the
That's
past,
pretty much
John,
it,
we got
yes.
our ass kicked.
Yep, because again, I'm not the library, I'm fine with the library, I'm fine with these other four organizations that are in our town.
The library over the last 10 years has got a hell of a lot of increase in their funding. right
And we're
from
still
this town.
underfunded compared to most other towns in the state.
I don't know how we compare to all the other libraries around the state, I have no idea, but the
I just
the
told you, Joe,
library has-
Joe, I just told you, we're underfunded compared to most other libraries in the state.
Well, I'd have to see that.
Well, I can show it to you.
Well,
I don't
And the-
like
and
to
the library
pump the
provides a lot of
PLPC
services.
they
They
provide a lot, well,
That's
that's
fine.
why I think they cover some of this.
Yeah.
And what might be nice is to have, was it Shelley that runs the library, come here and actually tell us some of the things they do, so people know.
It'd scare you.
Well, I know, I think if people knew a very detailed list of everything that
Oh my
the
gosh.
library provides, there'd
They
be
do a lot more than I
no,
had
you know,
ever
no
envisioned.
concern
Well,
about
no,
what
and
they're
that's, I
getting for
think it
funding.
would be good for people to know that.
I
Because I
Right.
get, you know, people comment, well, the library gets too much, you know, too much money and whatever, and I was like, well, but they do a lot of things,
In
you know,
in
that's.
comparison, they're not overfunded by the town,
Well, no, but again,
other towns.
there's, I think there's a perception by people that they are.
Well, yeah,
And if they
Well,
actually
depends
came
on
in
who
and
you're
and made a little
using.
presentation,
Well, I think in the past, I
Like
know
anything.
Bonnie had occasionally taken the town meeting as an opportunity to say,
Explain
thanks
it.
to everybody for.
Oh, yeah, she
what-
always handed
for
out a sheet
support.
every year.
She handed out a
with
sheet.
exactly
What
what
they
all
did.
the
Maybe
money
we can
went
make that
to.
suggestion to
What they
Shelley.
did. Yeah.
Or even
They
to
should
come
do the same
before the
thing.
board.
I-
Actually,
I
Shelley
would-
did do that last year.
that would be better, because what happens is they hand you the sheet,
Yeah.
you stuff it in your pocket,
Right.
you go into the meeting, you get home, you clean out your pockets,
Throw it away.
and you throw it, and you don't see
Don't
it.
look at
I'm
it.
So
sure
when
Shirley, I'm sure Shirley would be happy to.
I'll extend her a nice invitation, not
To
that
do
she's
that.
being called on the carpet, but we'd like to
No,
have an
she'd be
opportunity
happy to.
to brag about the library.
I'll
Yeah.
talk to her.
Yeah,
about it.
no, I think,
We do have an amazing library.
Yeah, we do. One of the best. That and our rec area.
Yep,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Well worth it.
Good.
With everybody
All right,
having
where are we? Lost
computers,
my-
you know,
Fire department.
Fire department, we gotta do that. I'm getting there, honey.
must
you
cut
said
into
you
the
lost it.
library
Well, I did for a second.
business.
Well, they
What?
have so much after-school stuff that they deal with now,
Oh,
they
gosh,
never
yeah.
had to do.
So what'd you say?
Right.
With everybody having just about everybody having a computer in their house, that these kids are,
No, the library's
they
full of
don't.
kids and the library's full of adults that use the computers.
Oh, God, yeah.
I'm surprised how many adults in town go to the
yeah.
library.
well, I don't,
I know
I'm
for
not
job
sure.
They do a lot of
applications
their
and
work
Oh, wow,
on the
lots of
computer.
things.
Matter of fact, we just got what, 8 or 10 new ones?
This is usually when Bob Miller tells us to stop having 9 conversations.
I know it. He yells at us. All right, let's get back on
That's the
the,
chair's job.
yeah, okay, we're gonna get back on
Shut
the new
up.
business. All right, quiet, everybody, there. We've got one more thing to do. We need to,
2 more things.
that's right, we gotta approve the fire department officers, which
Yes.
did not change only but one officer.
Right,
So
the
you
list
can
is
list-
Chief
yeah.
Hempel, Assistant Chief Shannon, Captain Hempel, Todd Hempel, that is,
Yeah.
Captain Sean Hendy, Lieutenant Darren Laughlin, and the new one, Lieutenant Craig Bowman.
Right.
Not a chance.
Must be getting old, you don't like change.
No.
Uh,
Only when I can make-
I haven't got any change in my pocket, sorry.
I'll make the motion.
We got a motion, we have a second. We got a motion,
Go for it.
Yeah,
got a second.
second, yes.
any further
yes.
discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
unanimous. Okay, discuss preparation for town report.
This will be the briefest comment ever.
Good.
We need a cover photo and we need honorees, perhaps living, perhaps dead, to honor in the town report.
And we'll discuss that in executive session. So does that conclude all of our business tonight?
One thing, what was this draft?
Oh, that's every year in the town report.
Right.
We have reports from various department heads. The town manager issues a report of what he's been up to, the Water and Sewer Commission does, and the Select Board
The
does.
select board.
This is basically a draft of what the Select Board has put in the town report in the past, just updated for, keep it.
Well, you
keep it-
didn't
That's super
fully, you didn't
updated.
fully update it.
Okay, what do I miss?
So last I knew, my last name wasn't Trombley.
Oh, no, this
Well, you did welcome me to the board, but then you kicked me off at the end.
Okay,
that's a
thank you.
computer glitch.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I forgot,
Computer.
Go ahead,
John, I
thank you.
forgot, I meant to mention this too, and it came out a while ago, the Brandon Pittsford guide that comes out once a year, it's all wrong.
Nobody has ever called me for any information about it.
So,
I don't
because
know where they
they're
get
obviously
their stuff.
using very old information, because
information.
Yeah.
that whole page that talks, just everybody, at the town level in Pittsford, there's all kinds
I
of
would try to put my
mistakes.
hands on it and call them and say, look,
So you need
why
to
don't you
update your
consult somebody in the town who can help you with this?
Or look at our website.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I will do that, thank you.
Okay.
Brandon Pittsford,
Bring it.
Not the reporter, it's that guy,
No.
Yeah, it's
No,
that.
the
Yeah.
guide, I don't,
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Good.
I guess we're all set. We thank everybody for coming tonight.
Thanks, Chad.